There is nothing like looking deeply into the eyes of your beloved, and we get to do that today in the in the fourth verse of the seventh chapter of the Song of Solomon. Actually, this is the second part of that. We talked about thy neck as a tower of ivory, and now we get to talk about thine eyes are like the fish pools in Heshbon by the gate of Bathrabbim. So, how spectacular! You see, there's some words there that it's pretty fun to unpack. And I guess I'll just tell you first that Matthew Henry said that these pools were pools of tears from sin, from considering our sin and what Jesus had to go through as a result of that. And that's a beautiful idea. Rashi has some really interestingly cryptic information. He felt like, since they talked about the gates here, that the Torah scholars would sit in the gates of the city and they would be offering up, Torah information, which is like rain, and that's, that would be like pools that were available for all the Bathrabbim, which would be the multitude of daughters. And so, that's the idea of really cool. That is the idea of Torah study, and we get to see that there. And then he has something really interesting. He talked about in the Mishnah. There is this idea that if you were trying to raise a dovecote or raise a pen full of doves or pigeons, that the law was that if you bought a dovecote, that you were to let the first brood fly away and go free. And the idea of that, of course, is just like the firstborn that you're offering to God. But it's really an interesting thing, because when I really have to think about that. And I think in its own way, the idea of those doves flying away, the first brood, speak to faith, which again, every time Jesus describes our eyes, he describes them as dove eyes, which are very much, connected to that faithful partner and that person that really believes in Jesus. And he loves to see that faith, right? It's the one thing that he was astonished by, was the faith of the centurion, right, in the Gospels. And so he loves to look at our faith. And so that idea of the fish pools is the blessing, actually. That fish pools is like blessing expressed. And the Heshbon is a wonderful word, and when you look at it just in the Hebrew, it kind of is like the home of a continual faith. It's almost a fire of the home of continual faith. And you think about that when you look deeply into the eyes of somebody that just really believes and you really, really loves you. This is the picture. And because of that faith, right, it creates light, just like thy word is a lamp unto our feet. And that light is our, light that we don't want to cover up with a bushel. And so that light is a big, beautiful place. And when you think about these doves that are breeding, that if you let their first brood go free, clearly they're going to now have more faith in you as their owner, that you are looking for the well-being of their breed, right? So those first free could go free to go, continue and procreate the species. And plus they could see that you had faith in God. And so I think it's an amazing thing that when you think about looking deeply into someone that loves you very deeply, that wow, the fish pools, this blessing of this unbelievable faith that leads to, right, the gate there. And that idea of the gate to the daughters of Jerusalem is almost like if you've ever been to the gate of Disney World, right? The excitement of all that's inside this wonderful place that you're going. And of course, when you're looking at the person that you dearly, dearly love, their eyes are in their own way. It's the gate to Disney World. And Jesus thinks of you like that, like, man, how excited you are to go in there and just have a blast with your whole family, right? Well, it's like the gate of, take your favorite place to go. And when you enter into the gate, you go there with all this excitement. And so how cool is that when Jesus looks into your eyes, right, he not only sees the faith, but then he knows that it's the entrance way to, Disney World for all the daughters. And that light in your eyes will lead to lots of folks in Disney World having a great time. So how does that play out in your life? And I can't help but think, that my wife, Loves me so much. I put her through quite a bit this weekend. We preached in Ash. We live in Stokesdale, North Carolina, which is about 60 minutes from Asheboro, where we preached. And then we went to another 60 minutes over the afternoon to preach at a tent revival in Burlington. And we didn't get home till like 9:30. Oh, the faith my wife has in me. And the times that we had, and I had a chance to sit with her at lunch and just look deep in those eyes and think about, wow, all the ways that she stands beside me in so many different things. And I just wonder, like my life would just not be anywhere near what it is if I couldn't share it with Tammy. Like that means so very, very much to me. And to think that Jesus looks into our eyes and boy, is he excited to share these adventures. Disney World, whatever that looks like, he is excited to go on those adventures with you, whether that's, fishing or out, in church with this wonderful, unbelievable adventure of believers or boot camp or wherever it is that you go, right? That is that adventure with Jesus. Boy, is he's looking into those eyes as the gateway of being able to go there with you. Absolutely a spectacular idea after we get from that ivory tower to these eyes, right, that are the fish pools. Thanks for listening.